Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Winning Mindset Academy podcast series. It has been a while. We've all been very busy, and guess what? It's already closing on December, and well, what's happened to the year? But today I have a great privilege of interviewing a very special person that I met over 20 years ago, a gentleman called Bernie Craven. And what impressed me about Bernie was when I first met him in the hairdressing industry. I was running a company at the time, and he was one of our key clients. Was his effervescence for life, his ambience, his positiveness, his energy. And it's not surprising as to what he's done over the last 20 years. One of he's currently actually the CEO of Waste-Free Systems. So I'll explain that to you in our discussion. And also, guess what? He's won the Clean Technology Small Business Awards in the Sunshine Coast. Not once, but 3 times, 2019, 2021, and currently 22. And you're talking over 500,000 people. And apparently, from what I've heard, it's the biggest awards outside the Telstra Awards. So it's an amazing, amazing achievement. So I'd like to, at this point, welcome my good friend, Bernie Craven. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Philip.
Fantastic, mate. And the difference is that I'm in cold Melbourne and he is in the beautiful Sunshine Coast. Have a look at the background.
It's lovely here at the moment.
Okay. All right, Bernie. As I said, for the sake of the audience, the Winning Mindset Academy is to talk to virtually what I call everyday people who have become very successful in life. Life wasn't handed to them on a silver spoon, but definitely have gone through adversity, have through their entrepreneurial thinking and their will to overcome any of obstacles in their life, have achieved greatness. And that's the reason why I want to talk to you, Bernie, because you have had a very colorful background. I don't think the audience will be very surprised to hear that you actually started life off as a plumber.
Yeah, I did actually, and I quite enjoyed plumbing. It just was, I didn't enjoy the guy I was working for.
Yeah, great. Funny thing about it, plumbers are supposed to be one of the best trades to get into, right? That's where the money is, they reckon.
Well, I've often thought that if I had stuck to it, just what life would be like today. But anyway, I have much cleaner hands than I would have had if I was a plumber. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hence, you've won the Clean Technology Awards.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So from there, you obviously decided to not pursue that career, but move into public service, I hear.
Yeah, I did. I'd gone for the public service exam in Melbourne, and when I just was deciding what I would do with my plumbing, I found out I had a job at the public service. So as a file clerk, which is I found was very, very boring and definitely not something that I wanted to stick to.
Okay, fantastic, wonderful. And apparently, this is where you met your wife on the Gold Coast.
No, well, what happened was I used to get a lift to work from this young Italian guy I worked with, and he actually said to me, he had a mate who had a hairdressing salon in Northcote in Melbourne, and that there was plenty of women and plenty of money. So I said, that sounds like the job for me as a young 17-year-old fella. So I started to look for a job there, and in the meantime, I went for a holiday to the Gold Coast, and that's actually where I met my wife in a nightclub. We were both underage. She was only 15 at the time, I think. Her parents were going through a divorce, so she sent her up with her older sister, and I was also in that nightclub underage also. And anyway, we met, and we were both from Melbourne, and that's how it all happened. Yeah.
Fantastic. You both happened to come from Melbourne by accident.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we got back, I was hitchhiking to her place because I didn't have a car, and I stopped in a phone box, and there was a sign in the window of a salon called Sergio's that they wanted a male apprentice in the days when you could actually decide what gender you did want to work for you. And yeah, so I was the biggest suburban salon in Melbourne. Yeah, so I went in for an interview and I got the job.
So that's how you got into hairdressing, really.
Hairdressing, yes, yes.
Yeah, fantastic. And you were with him for how long?
I was with him for 4 years, and then I went overseas on the Aussie backpacking holiday, and went to London, and then we travelled for 2.5 years before we came back to Australia. But I worked in London as a hairdresser. It was an
Right.
amazing experience. Worked in Rome as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So during this time, I mean, you got into hairdressing. Obviously, it seemed like it became a passion of yours to carry on overseas and that and the experience that you pick up. I'd like to share with my audience during that time, what was going through yourself? You know, you were growing up. I mean, you were still younger, you know, in your 20s, obviously. What was some of your values at the time? What drove you?
Well, it was a really interesting thing. My mum was a painter sculptor. My dad was an accountant by trade or profession. And so I suppose I ended up having, I'm very much a maths person, math science, and I'm also artistic from my mother's point of view. And so I suppose hairdressing was, yeah, I'd never even been in a salon. Oh, actually, I think I walked in once with my mum to a hairdressing salon, but so I didn't really know too much about them. But it's just something that appealed to me. And it wasn't just the women and the money, but it was something that appealed to me. As it turned out, there were 20 on the staff, 2 guys and 18 girls. And probably I did my first blow dry. It took me 18 months before I did a blow dry in the salon because it was so busy. They had 28 chairs that were full all of the time, 95% of the time. And so effectively, I did all the plumbing in the salon, all the electrical work, everything like that. But I nearly left a million times because, I wasn't progressing. But then from that 18-month period, in the next 18 months, I was actually running $1 million color department. I built my own clientele. So from that first blow dry, 18 months later, I was, effectively running the whole color side of the salon.
That's interesting. Just listening to what you were saying, right? I mean, yes, you started off in hairdressing, but you also were the tradesman there. It's quite interesting. You were like jack of all trades. You were helping, as you're saying, fix light bulbs and whatever because of your plumbing experience. But it's interesting that you didn't actually have to do that. I mean, you did that because you just wanted to help. It was part of what you thought was helping the business and helping him as well,
Yeah,
saving lots
well,
of money.
Philip, I'm a problem solver, and
Okay.
so that's my whole life. That's what I've done, and so that was just, if there was a leak to be fixed at the basins, then I just jumped in there and did it. If there was, obviously you had to keep the blow dryers going, I'd put new elements in them. I just problem solving is sort of something that comes quite easily to me. So I'm always looking for solutions to things. I still do it very much today in my current business. So.
Yeah, I think that thank you for sharing because that has been the basis of your success in life. It's about what is the solution. You know, you understand what the problem is. So how can we fix this? And what is the solution? And your commitment towards endeavoring to find that answer, and you won't quit until you find the answer. And that's important. Like a lot of people start and then they quit halfway. It's too much, too difficult. And you started off by doing that. And of course, we'll talk about that as we go on to why you're doing what you're doing today. One of the things that in our previous discussion, you talked about your brand is integrity. You bring integrity to what you do, to everything you do. And you gave me a quote, and maybe you can help explain this to the audience. Not to be good at what you do, but a better marketer of what you do.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, I was very lucky with my first boss, Sergio. From it was like an amazingly busy salon, and he once said to me, you have to be a better marketer of what you do than a doer of what you do, because and over the years, I've seen a lot of super successful businesses that are not necessarily the best tradespeople or whatever, but they're very good at marketing and they're very good at making people feel good and they're very good at servicing their clientele. So in that particular business, they were very good at servicing their clientele and making them feel special. So that was one of my big takeaways from the business. And whilst in the nitty gritty of running a business, that's something that tends not to be a focus because you sometimes get buried in the running of your business. It's something you've always got to come back to. I think you've got to be a good marketer to keep your business going, and it's got to be like multi-channels of marketing to keep people coming in the door. It can't just be one way or no marketing at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? I mean, in the current climate in today, I mean, life is one big marketing planet, so as to speak. You're talking about social media, you're talking about a whole lot of things. It's generally selling and marketing unconsciously every time you turn the computer on, wherever you drive. It's that part of it. But I want to talk about, it's all well and good marketing, but the authenticity behind the marketing, which is what integrity is all about, is really the key, isn't it?
Exactly. And so each business that I've built, it's all about, it's being genuine. And, that's the way I've always run a business, with any type of clientele. People know that people aren't stupid, and if you're genuine at what you do and you really care about what you do and you really care about, I mean, in hairdressing, it's very much a service business. It's not about hair. It's actually about helping people feel better about themselves. So if they walk out the door with a smile on their face, if you give them a haircut that they don't, that's going to be easy for them to look after, or if you just make them feel special, then that's what it's all about. That's your key marketing, really. And word of mouth is the absolute best sort of marketing you can get. So if you treat people well, and I would every single time, if someone's not happy, I'll go to the end of the earth to actually make them happy. I'll give them their money back. I'll do whatever I need to have that person happy. And it's not about money a lot of the time, but it is about the integrity of what you do.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bernie, along your way, have you had any mentors in your life where you took, some kudos off them and then made it your own?
Yeah, look, I mean, my first boss was a very good mentor, and he was a great guy. He was successful at what he did. I took a lot from the way he ran his business, and I probably look. I've had the odd mentor over the years, not too many, but I've always gone out there and found. Look, I got to 40 years of age trying to do everything myself. I thought I had to be good at everything. It sort of held me back a bit. I think it's a long time to go without without really getting other people's sort of advice, but when I got to that age, I just sort of I realized that what I really needed to do is get people who were good at what they did to do the things that I couldn't do, and just concentrate on the things that I did well. And since then, I mean, that was a great load off my shoulders. And also, I mean, obviously, I've expanded, had a lot more success by doing that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. All right. So, you said you went to Europe and you worked in some key salons over there and gained overseas experience. And then what happened after that? How long were you there? And then when did you get back?
Well, we were away for about 2.5 years, and we backpacked, and we got a motorbike, and we went right down through the Sahara Desert to the Niger border and back again, and we. I cut topless women's hair on the beach in Ibiza, and I worked in Rome in a salon. during the summer time when there were more people that spoke English, because I'm pretty average at languages. And then we sort of came back to London while we were away, and my wife did a beauty therapy course in London. And yeah, we sort of came back right back through Asia, and ended up back in Melbourne. So about 2.5 years after the start of our trip.
So what did you pick up during that time while you were away? I mean, apart from independence and creating your own and
Well, look, I mean, I certainly working in some, top level salons, and what I did find that in each different country, the people, whose hair you were doing was slightly different to the next country. In England, women were a lot freer. They weren't as reserved as in Australia. And then in Italy, of course, they have a very sort of casual style that they look, but they all want to look beautiful, and so I learned, I learned something from each sort of business owner. I used to also cut hair in caravan parks for meals, or camping grounds for meals. In Pamplona for the running of the bulls, I was doing haircuts in the camping ground for breakfast. So it's a great bartering trade, But I was younger then, and it was a great way to meet people. And so I suppose I picked up a lot of things, and I suppose just looking at how people lived around the world, that was very, we made some great friends. To this day, I still have some of those friends. It was, there's a lot to learn in life, and consequently, my daughters have all been well travelled, and they've learned a lot about life as well. We all made sure that they all had gap years to go and experience life, and I think it makes you a more rounded person.
based on that, would you encourage a lot of the younger generation to, if they have the opportunity, to actually experience life overseas?
Oh, most definitely. I think travel and coping with travel, and of course, it's a little bit different these days because of COVID and everything like that. But I think it's starting to get back to some sort of semblance of what it used to be like. I would encourage every young person, and I'd also encourage their parents to let them go. Our youngest daughter was 17, and we had to sign a waiver for her to go on the bus company so she could go down to the running of the bulls at Pamplona because she was too young. And a lot of people said to us, you're crazy. Why would you do that? And I said, well, it's part of, we trust her. We've given her a good grounding in life. She's with a girlfriend. And I think that, it's part of, building resilience and, in yourself and independence. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Good advice. Okay. So you came back to Melbourne, and then you were working for another business here at the time, or what happened?
Yeah, so I went back and worked with my old boss Sergio. He immediately had me back. Obviously, realised that I was very good at what I did, and so I was look, I think it was a mistake going back there. I could have gone some really top level salons in Melbourne, but I just wanted to get back into the field of hairdressing again. And but what happened was, from there, a couple of the girls I did my apprenticeship with was selling their business, which was just up the road, and so I bought their salon from them, and that I made that into a very successful business.
Fantastic. All right. And you worked at that time. You were with a company called L'Oreal or something, or at the time?
Well, originally I was actually with Goldwell, and
Okay.
and I was so I became a fair sized account with them at the time, and I was actually one of the first people to take colorants on in Melbourne, and which was there was a lot of long curly hair at that time, lots of perms and things like that, and it was a great product to get shine in the ends of the hair, which is really good. But so I ended up, I was with them, and then I I had that salon for 11 years, so it was very successful. And I ended up, and I used to go to all of the, the hair shows and very different things like that. But then it was when I moved up to Queensland that's when I actually and started a salon in Caloundra that I took on Redken products. So.
Right, okay. And you mentioned about trying to get into an event called the L'Oreal Colour Trophy.
Yeah, so at that time, I noticed quite a few of the big salons in Melbourne and around Australia were entering a competition called the L'Oreal Colour Trophy. And anyway, they were really getting a lot of exposure, and that the Colour Trophy would bring out like a magazine afterwards with all the hairstyles, all the entries and that. So it was becoming a really big thing. So I decided that I would enter that competition. So it took 5 years, and finally I won it for Queensland 5 years later. So it took a while, but at the same time, it allowed us to get a lot better at all of the photographic works and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Tell me, how big is this event? I mean, on a national basis.
Well, at that time, it was the biggest event, and it was worldwide. So yeah, like it really became something that could propel your business if you were a finalist in it. It became that big in the media and the press, and yeah, I was determined that I was going to get a result in it. And as always, there's a lot of politics involved in these things, and so we had a very slim chance in Queensland, but I managed to get one of those spots, and then that really sort of catapulted us. I mean, at that time, I was doing all the newsreaders on the coast because we were basically a city-style salon in a regional area, and so we were able to get TV coverage, radio. It really sort of propelled our business along, and from that point, I used to enter all of the competitions, but not just in Australia, but overseas as well. I was always wanting to compete against the very best in the industry. I suppose, recognition from your peers about, what you're doing in the industry and your work is, an important thing. And so we ended up, becoming finalists in, the Salon Business Awards, which were run out of LA by Redken. And also we were semi-finalists for that, which was pretty amazing considering it was a worldwide competition and we were a little salon in Caloundra. And then, we went on to be finalists in some amazing awards against the top hairdressers in the world. And I sort of felt very vindicated that we had reached a level, and salons around the world knew who we were in Australia. And in the end, we had something like 150 different publications worldwide with a lot of the salon work in them, which was pretty amazing.
Wow! So you're virtually, were like a celebrity-like status type business and individual.
Well, certainly we, very well known in the hair industry. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then when I think that was the time I was around meeting you at the time when you had that.
Yes, that was when with the whole we were we became quite a large Redken L'Oreal account. So.
And you were part of the Redken artistic team, and
so Redken artistic team for about 12 years. So that meant we got to do education all around Australia, and also work on fashion weeks in Australia and fashion week in New York, and it really opened a lot of doors. I think from a creative perspective. Yeah.
It's amazing. Okay. And then we kind of lost contact there for a while because I left the industry and started my own consulting company, which is what it is today. And you eventually sold the business, but went on to bigger and better things. It's an interesting change in your life. I mean, you were always that problem solver. I think that sort of was always you, your integrity and your problem solving skills. But it took you to a completely different level in life, and you started giving back in massive ways.
Yeah.
So tell me
So,
all about that time in your life.
well, yeah. So I suppose what happened was probably about 8 or 9 years ago, I sold my last salon. It was very successful. We did really well out of it. And I've always been an environmental hairdresser, right? From, my dad used to, he'd drive me around the station wagon on a Sunday when the hard rubbish collection, for those who don't know what a hard rubbish collection is, it's a big skip bins put in suburbs where people can dump all of their rubbish. We used to take stuff out, take it home, fix it up, sometimes sell it, sometimes use it. And so I've always been, I wouldn't call myself a greenie per se, but I've always had that sort of view of life. And so in a salon, in all my businesses, I've always been very environmental. I've always, been concerned about, the aluminium foil going to landfill, and the chemicals going down the sink, and making sure that I separated my sort of recyclables. I've been doing that for, over, 25 years. So for me, I looked at what was happening in the industry, and I thought, a lot of other, and I saw that there was a few things happening. There was starts of something happening. So I decided to develop my own sort of bin separation system for salons or business owners, so that, because it's hard to do from scratch on your own and to find solutions for. So I thought, if I set up this a smart bin system that separates waste in the salon, and then I provide a service taking it away, then that would be beneficial to salon owners who wanted to be environmental. But at the same time, I also I was looking for something to give back to the industry. I mean, I know that's giving back, but so I started a charity called Hair Aid, and I started it with another person, but we would go over. I created a 5-day cutting program. We would go over to the Philippines and work in the slums over there, and we would teach people, how to cut hair. So the first year I went, I taught 90 students on my own how to cut hair. The whole idea was so that they would be able to earn a little bit of money, and it would just ease their sort of life a little bit. Their kids, they'd be able to put food on the table and all that sort of stuff. So I started that up. I was the hairdresser that started it. And I mean, that's been running now for about 6 years. I stepped away a couple of years ago to concentrate on my waste business. But it still continues today. We started a Haircuts for Homeless program, which now goes all around Australia. I still do a Haircuts for Homeless program myself, just every 6 weeks at the local, neighbourhood centre, working with homeless people, and I enjoy doing that. We're part of a team. There's Orange Sky Laundry, and there's street nurses, and there's a whole group of people that come in to the centre. But for me, it's always been about, I've got a skill, why not use it for some sort of common good, really.
Fantastic, fantastic to create something like that. And, one of the things that I read from that was, again, you saw a problem, there was a need, and you came up with a solution of giving back and helping. And of course, it's educating them to fend for themselves and to earn a living is more sustainable, which is all part of environmental, rather than just giving something to someone in a third world country, which is very short term, which
Yes,
is kind of
exactly
your whole
right.
thinking process. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, you feed it, you feed a man, and you teach them how to fish, and they can fish for life. You feed them a loaf of bread, and they can eat one meal, sort of thing. So it's
Yep.
very much like that. What they do with it, you have no control over. But what you do, it's not so much about the skill you teach them. It's about the fact that they actually realise they can learn something, and then they can do something with it. So if I can do this, why can't, my sister is a seamstress, and she came over on one of the trips, and she was teaching sewing. over there in the Philippines, and we would donate sewing machines and things like that. And of course, some of those women, they'd go and start their own sewing businesses, and then they'd actually teach some other people, or some of those people we taught to cut hair actually were teaching other people. And so it was, you never knew where it was going to go, but the thing was, you gave them a skill, or you gave them hope, I suppose, and then it was up to them. Sometimes you give someone hope, or you let them see that they are actually more capable to do something, and then they can do it.
Fantastic. It's so exactly what the Winning Mindset Academy is all about. It's about you're teaching people to win in life. And winning is taking those small steps. About then when you make small steps, you win small steps, you become more confident, and then you go on to bigger things. But it's just creating that feeling of, I can do this and I'm pretty good at it. I think it's the essence of what you did, and it's virtually what why I created this whole podcast and this whole company about Winning Mindset Academy, is to tell an everyday person in life that everyone in life can win at something. You just got to find out what that is, and then when you win, you get the confidence to go better. It's got nothing to do with the traditional terms of winning in the sense of having a big house and a lovely car, or showing assets. It's about exactly what we're talking about today.
Yeah, and I was told very early on. I can't remember exactly who said it to me. They just said, with normal intelligence, you can do anything you want. You don't have to be someone who's brilliant. You see people out there like the Lindsay Foxes of the world, who went to year 9 at school, or Richard Branson, who was dyslexic, or there are all these people, these amazing people out there, that those things didn't stop them. You don't have to be fantastic at school. In fact, some people just hate school, but they are so successful at life. And I taught my 3 daughters, all who are actually very smart people, and they've all got great professions. And I just did say to them, I said, you are capable of doing anything you want in life. All you got to want to do is do it and apply yourself. So for me, that's always been the way it is. And I have a wife who is amazingly successful in her own right as well. And she amazes me sometimes with her insight. She's been a very valuable part of our business. I learned to listen to her after I was always very headstrong. I actually listen to her. She's a very good head on her shoulders to distill things that you're thinking about sometimes, or the way you should do them. And these days I listen to her all the time.
Exactly. There's the old saying that behind every successful man is a successful partner. And someone that's got that, rationality, I'm very similar to you. Interesting, you brought up Lindsay Fox. And he is one person that epitomizes what we talked about earlier, not being good at what you do, but being a better marketer of what you do. We all remember the saying behind one of his vans, "You're passing another fox." And we never really knew that he only had one vehicle at the time.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, if you look at every one of those vehicles, they're sparkling clean.
Yeah.
Sparkling clean.
It's such an amazing story. You're passing another fox. I mean, how good is that at marketing?
Yeah.
All right. He was already big before he started.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, smart. Exactly.
Anyway, so the exciting part is that I want to talk about what's happening in your life now, right? I mean, you had Aussie Hair Guru, and then you extended that and you moved further afield into prosthetic hands, and you did many things, and what you want to do, what you're doing now, which is also what I want to share with my audience.
Yeah, so I've created this system that would support business owners to actually be sustainable, so to create a sustainable model. And so that's really what it was all about. And we provide them the whole system to do it, with the instruction to do it, and also and the service, so to make it run. But solutions is obviously so we save 90% of all the waste we pick up from landfill, and to do that you actually have to have solutions. With hairdressing is quite a polluting sort of trade. You've got aluminium foil, you have chemical waste, you have plastic, you have paper and cardboard, you have hair. And so we had to provide solution, styling tools, electronics type thing. We had to provide, solutions to it. So I was looking at plastic and I thought, all right, so, how can you recycle plastic? And so that led me to the 3D printing industry, because I was looking for solutions to plastic. And then I could see that, and because filament is so expensive and it's never sort of dropped in price, I don't know why. So what I found was that all of these people, that it was more not the commercial industry, but the amateur industry. I found out that they were all crushing their failed prints, which you have a lot of, and then they were shredding them, and they were getting these extruders and recreating the filament and then reusing it. So I thought, all right, well, if you can do that. So then I knew nothing about 3D printing. So then I went and got, myself a shredder and an extruder, and I got a couple of 3D printing machines. And then I thought, well, why can't you do that with recycled plastic? So I started testing the plastic that I was getting from the hairdressing industry. We had HDPE and polypropylene and all of these different types of plastics, which we would sort and send to recyclers. And then I started to shred it, and then I started to create these, and then I found this charity that was actually called Enable worldwide, and there were amateur 3D printers who were creating these prosthetics, or we really need to use the name assistive devices because the medical industry don't really like it that much, and they were creating these prosthetics for kids and giving them away for free. And so, and I could have all of the, and then they showed you actually how to do it. So what I did was I started to test and trial the plastics that I was getting through the hairdressing industry. So I started to make parts for these assistive devices or prostheses. And I got a couple of universities who saw what I was doing. We got a lot of press about it worldwide, everywhere from, Newsday, radio in the UK to NBC in America. Everyone picked up on it, and we got a lot of press. And we had all the politicians coming and everybody like that. It was pretty massive. And anyway, so a couple of universities, University of Technology Sydney, they came to me and they said, "Can we help you with what you're doing? We really love it." And they've got a part of their uni, Rapido Social, it's called, where they look for sort of sort of like social projects, and we got a grant for it. And then they started to test the plastics for me, and University of the Sunshine Coast did, and then we had University of Queensland. And suddenly, because what I realized was it was really important that I had a science base to what I was doing, and I needed, and so, which is always my way of doing things. And so that's when I started to, and so we started to create these, and we got then because of the news, I had a couple of young kids, Connor and Haley, who both had been born without part of their left forearm and hand. And we actually created assisted devices for them, and that was an amazing thing. And so we just and we're still sort of playing around with it a little bit. COVID sort of knocked it on the head, but we are starting to pick it up again now, and we've got we're continually testing our own plastics and whatever. But the thing that I found was that, it wasn't, these kids became rock stars at their schools because they had these 3D printed plastic prosthetics. But the thing that it did for them, like one of them ended up getting, Marie Claire magazine did a photo shoot on her, and she was this timid, quiet kid that suddenly, and then Connor, well, he's taller than me now, but at the time, what it did was it suddenly gave them this renewed confidence in life that they could do stuff, and that they were worth more. And it was an amazing thing. I mean, I learned as much as they did, and we will continue with it. But it was just one of the solutions that we came up with.
Fantastic. No, that's so admirable. for what, it's the giving and seeing that there's no price you can put on that.
No.
It is so amazing. Which is now you're having your waste-free systems company, and you're working with a lot of hair salons and hopefully moving into the beauty business as well.
Most definitely, yeah. Our system suits so many different businesses, and and we just basically, we really just go through, have some discussions about what what things they use in the industry, and then we just, we basically suit our system to fit that type of business. Yeah.
So you basically go in, it's sort of an analysis of what the current situation is, and then you tailor a solution for them. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's still separation of waste, but what we do is we just, we tailor it to sort of suit the size of the business and the volume really. Our systems are very easily sort of manipulated to be able to work with quite a different lot of sizes.
So you give them a percentage of how much they can save. Is that correct?
Oh yes. So we have we've developed we actually have developed an app which is we've been using it for quite a while on our driver side, and it's just about to launch, and we're going to, and we can, so what we do is we let every business know exactly what's been picked up. We digitally weigh everything, and then what we do is we've got the mathematics there. We can let every business know what the savings are environmentally. So for instance, if we save a kilo of plastics, it's how much water we save, how many kilowatts of power, how much landfill we save. So we can actually effectively give instantaneously. Businesses can now know they can create, as part of their sustainability program, they can actually know exactly what the service is bringing to them, and it can be just part of what they do. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, you have a growing number of customers coming on board.
We do, yes. So we were based in Queensland, but we've got a Melbourne branch, which is actually really starting to grow, and we are looking to expand right around Australia. And it's great. See, I get to work with these amazing business owners who want to be sustainable. I mean, in this day and age, it really is the obligation of every business owner to worry about what's happening to their waste. It's now not acceptable to not do anything about where your waste is going and to have it just go to landfill. I mean, every business owner's got to take responsibility, I feel. But it doesn't have to be hard. It can be easy, and I just love working with these business owners. I still work in the industry I love with people that of the same mindset. So for me, it's like a win-win. I get up every morning and I enjoy what I do, and I'm helping people, and you can't get better than that, really.
Absolutely. Important question, Bernie. The model that you created is amazing for the hand beauty industry. I mean, you're moving to the beauty industry as well because it's similar. But can this model be taken generically into other industries?
Most definitely. We've definitely looked at it. We've looked at food. We have a prototype for food as yet. There's a few things we have to get right with that. But what I look to do now, and what I am doing is I'm talking to company CEOs, and we've got the packaging accords coming up in Australia in 2025. By then, Australian companies have to use a specific amount of recycled in their packaging, and they also, have to design for end of life so that it can be recycled, easily. And so we're now, I'm talking to CEOs of companies about, how you can, we can actually follow through if we are servicing their stockists, and we can actually keep track of their packaging and can actually then relay figures back to those companies about, what is being saved. And that is part of a sustainable business model for companies, and it's something that we are moving further and further into. So.
Fantastic. Sounds like an exciting future for you, Bernie. And the good thing is that, again, you're giving back, you're helping the environment, the economy, and, one of the government's initiatives of the next 20 years to, and if every business can do that part.
It is a worldwide initiative, really.
Yeah.
And we're just, I'm just happy to be part of it. I mean, I love collaboration. We collaborate, we've got organic farms using our hair. And we also support some charities, with any sort of the waste resources that we do pick up. We actually support charities with whatever monies we get from that. So that's just another part of giving back. And obviously, the more successful we are in business, the more successful we are at, supporting other businesses as well. So, I enjoy. It's a feel good. We've got some great staff who are, they love what we do. It is a feel good industry. Sometimes, waste is dirty. There's no doubt about it. We all get our hands dirty. I'm not just some CEO that sits there, but I'm the person that sort of goes out there and, talks to businesses and that sort of thing. But we've got some great people coming up through the ranks, and sort of exciting times, really. Yeah.
You're exactly right. Waste is dirty, but it's certainly saving the planet from becoming even dirtier.
Yeah. Look, I stop short. It's got to be people's decision themselves. There are a lot of businesses out there. I go in there and I start to talk to them about what we do, and their eyes glaze over, and they're not interested. And I don't try to. It's not my role to try to get people like that to decide. If any of those people have got kids or whatever, I just go, well, what I feel like saying to them is, well, what about your kids, and what about their future, and what about the world they're going to live in? It's if everyone did their part, it would be I look at the world I grew up in, and what it was like back then, and I just think, well, it can be like that, but everyone has to do their bit, and abdicating that your responsibility is not, I don't think, part of it. But you can't get anybody who doesn't want to do something to do it, and I don't really even try, quite frankly. I'm only interested in the proactive people that want to be part of it. Yeah.
Right, thank you. And lastly, just a word of wisdom or a gem that you'd like to leave with my audience before we round up.
Okay, so if you've got an idea in your head, I think you've got to action it. Don't just sit there and not do anything about it. I mean, there are a million really good ideas out there that never get actioned. If you've got an idea, you've got to really back yourself and action it. And if at first you don't succeed, keep on trying, because I've been ahead of my time so many times. My ideas are ahead of their time, and by the time I'm sort of, like, for instance, Facebook Live, I mean, I was actually filming hairdressing training videos years before that, and it cost me a lot of money, and if I had been doing it, but I was way ahead of my time. And so you've just got to keep on, don't give up, and get advice. Fully talk to people. Don't be scared that your idea is going to get taken. Just go and get some advice on it. Sometimes you can cut your whole journey a lot shorter by doing that.
Thank you, Bernie Craven, for an insightful interview in your life, and have a great day, and I hope to catch up soon.
Thanks, Philip. The same to you.
A pleasure. Right.